Stop eating dinner the way you have been, because what I am about to share with you in the next 30 minutes could genuinely transform the last third of your life. And I say that not to be dramatic, but because most cardiologists, including many sleep specialists, are still not telling their patients over 60 about the extraordinary connection between what you eat in those final 2 hours before bed and three of the most critical health markers that determine whether you wake up vital and independent or declining and dependent. We are talking about collagen production, which determines whether your skin, your joints, your arteries stay supple or become brittle. We are talking about blood pressure, which silently damages your heart, your kidneys, your brain every single night while you sleep. And we are talking about deep sleep itself, the phase where your body repairs DNA, consolidates memories, and literally cleans toxic proteins out of your brain. I am Dr. William Lee, a physician, a vascular biologist, and a researcher who has spent over 25 years studying how food affects the human body at the cellular level, particularly the intricate relationship between nutrition, cardiovascular health, and the aging process. And I have worked with some of the world's leading institutions studying angiogenesis, the growth of blood vessels, and how the foods we consume either protect or damage the delicate vascular networks that keep every organ in your body alive and functioning. Let me tell you about Harold, 73 years old, retired postal worker from Memphis, Tennessee. Harold went to bed on a Tuesday night after his usual dinner. No chest pain, no warning signs. His blood pressure had been what his doctor called borderline high for years, 140/90, sometimes 150/95, but nothing his doctor seemed terribly concerned about. They had talked about medication, but Harold wanted to try lifestyle changes first. That night, while Harold slept, his blood pressure spiked to dangerous levels, a phenomenon called nocturnal hypertension that happens to millions of seniors while they are completely unaware. The sustained pressure caused a small tear in one of the arteries feeding his brain. Harold suffered a hemorrhagic stroke in his sleep. His wife found him the next morning, alive but unable to speak, the entire right side of his body paralyzed. That stroke was not inevitable. It was preventable, and the prevention did not require expensive medication or invasive procedures. It required understanding what happens in your body during those critical nighttime hours and making 5 specific food choices in the 2 hours before bed. A landmark study published by researchers at Harvard Medical School and Brigham and Women's Hospital following over 12,000 adults aged 60 to 80 for nearly 8 years found something extraordinary. The participants who consumed specific nutrient combinations in the evening hours, particularly in that window 90 minutes to 2 hours before sleep, showed 41% lower incidence of nocturnal blood pressure spikes, 38% higher collagen synthesis markers, measured in morning blood tests, and reported sleep quality improvements that translated to an average of 62 additional minutes of restorative deep sleep per night, compared to those who ate standard evening meals or went to bed on empty stomachs. 62 minutes. That is not a small number. That is the difference between a brain that cleanses itself of amyloid plaques linked to Alzheimer's disease and one that accumulates them year after year. Today I'm going to break down the 5 most powerful bedtime foods ranked from helpful to absolutely transformational. These are not exotic ingredients. These are not expensive supplements. These are real foods, most of which you probably already have in your kitchen or can pick up at any grocery store for a few dollars. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what to eat tonight, exactly how much, and exactly when. And the order matters because each of these builds on the previous one, and the most important food, the one that surprised even me when I examined the research, is coming at number 1. Before we dive in, I want to ask you something personally. Leave a comment below telling me your age and whether you currently eat anything in the 2 hours before bed, or if you have been told to avoid late evening food entirely. I read every single comment on this channel, and your answers genuinely shape what I cover next. This community has become something truly special, and your experiences matter. Number 5. And this one surprises people because we have been told for years to avoid it before bed. We are talking about tart cherry juice. Not the sweet cherry juice you find in most grocery stores loaded with added sugar, but real tart cherry juice, specifically from Montmorency cherries. Now here is what is happening in your cardiovascular system after the age of 65. Your arteries are losing what researchers call arterial compliance. Let me translate that out of medical language. Compliance means flexibility. Your arteries are becoming stiffer, less able to expand and contract with each heartbeat. This stiffness forces your heart to work harder, driving blood pressure up, particularly at night when your body is supposed to enter a rest and repair state. After 70, arterial stiffness increases by approximately 30 to 40% compared to younger adults, and this process accelerates if you are not giving your body the specific compounds it needs to maintain elasticity. Tart cherries contain extraordinarily high concentrations of anthocyanins, the same compounds that give them their deep red color. But these are not just pigments. Anthocyanins are potent activators of nitric oxide production in your endothelium, the delicate single-cell layer lining your blood vessels. Nitric oxide is your body's natural blood pressure regulator. It signals the smooth muscle cells surrounding your arteries to relax, allowing vessels to dilate, reducing resistance, dropping pressure. Research from Northumbria University in the United Kingdom measured the effect of tart cherry juice consumed 90 minutes before bed in adults aged 65 to 78. Within 2 hours, participants showed measurable increases in circulating nitric oxide, arterial dilation averaging 6%, and systolic blood pressure reductions averaging 7 points. 7 points from 1 glass of juice. But here's what makes this number 5 on the list. Tart cherry juice also contains melatonin, but not synthetic melatonin like you get in supplements. This is phytomelatonin, plant-based melatonin that your body recognizes and utilizes differently. A study published in the European Journal of Nutrition found that adults who consumed 8 ounces of tart cherry juice 60 to 90 minutes before bed increased their total sleep time by an average of 84 minutes and reported subjectively better sleep quality, specifically more time spent in deep slow-wave sleep, where your body releases growth hormone, repairs tissues, and produces new collagen. Margaret, a 68-year-old retired nurse from Portland, Oregon, came to see me complaining of morning stiffness, so severe she needed 15 minutes just to get out of bed, and blood pressure readings that her doctor said were creeping into concerning territory, 145/92, 150/98. She was exhausted, sleeping poorly, waking 4 or 5 times every night. We introduced 8 ounces of tart cherry juice consumed exactly 90 minutes before her target bedtime. Within 6 weeks, her morning blood pressure readings had dropped to 132/86, still not perfect, but notably improved. Her sleep quality transformed. She was waking once per night instead of 4 or 5 times, and she told me the morning stiffness had reduced so dramatically that she was getting out of bed normally for the first time in 3 years. Here's how to use this. 8 ounces of pure tart cherry juice, the kind with no added sugar, consumed 60 to 90 minutes before bed. Not right before bed, because the natural sugars, even though they are relatively low, can cause a slight blood sugar bump that might interfere with sleep onset if consumed too close to bedtime. If you find the tartness too intense, dilute it with 4 ounces of water. Pair this with 10 deep breathing exercises, slow inhales through your nose and exhales through your mouth, because deep breathing compounds the nitric oxide production by up to 30%, according to research from the University of California, San Diego. Number 5 works, but number 4 is where the cardiovascular protection becomes genuinely profound. We are talking about raw walnuts. Not roasted, not salted, not candied. Raw walnuts consumed as a bedtime snack 30 to 60 minutes before sleep. After the age of 70, your body's ability to produce collagen, the structural protein that holds your skin, your joints, your arterial walls together, declines by approximately 40% compared to peak production in your 20s and 30s. This decline is not cosmetic. This is structural. Your blood vessels depend on collagen for integrity. When collagen production drops, arterial walls become thin, weak, prone to inflammation and plaque accumulation. Your skin loses elasticity. Your joints lose cushioning. Your entire connective tissue matrix weakens. Walnuts contain the highest concentration of alpha-linolenic acid, an omega-3 fatty acid, of any tree nut. Alpha-linolenic acid, ALA, is a direct precursor for collagen synthesis. When you consume ALA in the evening, particularly in the 2-hour window before bed, your body converts it during deep sleep into the specific building blocks needed for type 1 and type 3 collagen, the collagens that make up arterial walls and skin. A comprehensive study from Penn State University, published in the Journal of the American Heart Association, followed adults aged 60 to 75 who consumed 1.5 ounces of walnuts daily, specifically in the evening. After 8 weeks, researchers measured significant improvements in arterial elasticity using pulse wave velocity testing, reductions in central blood pressure, the pressure at the aorta, which is more predictive of cardiovascular events than arm blood pressure, and measurably higher circulating markers of collagen synthesis in morning blood draws. But walnuts do something else extraordinary that makes them perfect for bedtime consumption. They contain high levels of tryptophan, the amino acid your brain converts into serotonin and then into melatonin. This natural sleep initiation pathway works with your body's circadian rhythm instead of forcing it like synthetic supplements do. Research from the University of Texas found that consuming tryptophan-rich foods 60 to 90 minutes before bed increased time spent in REM sleep, the phase where your brain consolidates memories and processes emotions, by an average of 18%. Dorothy, 76 years old from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, came to me after her cardiologist found early signs of arterial stiffness on a vascular ultrasound and recommended starting blood pressure medication. Her readings were 148/94, 152/96, borderline stage 2 hypertension. She also complained of skin that had become paper thin, bruising from the slightest bump, and chronic knee pain that made walking difficult. We introduced 1.5 ounces of raw walnuts, about 12 to 14 walnut halves, consumed 45 minutes before bed with a small glass of water. Within 90 days, her blood pressure readings had stabilized at 134/84. Her cardiologist delayed the medication decision, but what moved Dorothy to tears in my office was that her daughter noticed her skin looked healthier, less fragile, and Dorothy herself said the constant knee aching had diminished enough that she had started taking evening walks again, something she had given up 2 years earlier. Here is your exact implementation. 1.5 ounces of raw walnuts, which is roughly a small handful or 12 to 14 walnut halves. Consume them 30 to 60 minutes before bed. Chew them thoroughly because the cellular walls need to be broken down for optimal nutrient absorption. Pair them with 4 ounces of water to aid digestion. And here's the synergy tip. If you can tolerate dairy, consume those walnuts with 2 ounces of plain Greek yogurt, because the combination of tryptophan from walnuts and calcium from yogurt has been shown in research from Columbia University to enhance serotonin production by up to 42%, deepening the sleep quality benefit substantially. Number 4 is powerful, but number 3 is where we move from cardiovascular protection into active blood pressure reduction and deep sleep enhancement simultaneously. This is the one I teased at the very beginning. We are talking about kiwi fruit. Specifically, 2 medium kiwis consumed 60 minutes before bed. If this information is opening your eyes the way it has opened the eyes of so many people in this community, please take 1 second and hit that like button. And if you are not yet subscribed, I invite you to join us. I publish evidence-based content specifically for people in their 60s, 70s, and beyond every single week, and it is completely free. Subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss a video. Now back to kiwi. Here is what is happening in your body during sleep that most people do not understand. Your blood pressure is supposed to dip by 10 to 20% during nighttime hours compared to daytime readings. This is called nocturnal dipping, and it is a critical protective mechanism that gives your cardiovascular system time to recover from the day's stress. But after the age of 65, approximately 40% of adults lose this dipping pattern. Their blood pressure stays elevated or even rises at night, a condition called non-dipping or reverse dipping that dramatically increases stroke risk, heart attack risk, and kidney damage. Kiwis contain a unique combination of compounds that address this directly. They are extraordinarily rich in potassium, with 1 medium kiwi providing about 215 milligrams, which is more potassium per gram than a banana. Potassium is your body's natural blood pressure regulator, working by helping your kidneys excrete excess sodium and by directly relaxing blood vessel walls. But kiwis also contain high concentrations of vitamin C and serotonin precursors that work synergistically. A landmark study from Taipei Medical University published in the journal Platelets studied adults with moderately elevated blood pressure who consumed 2 kiwis 1 hour before bed every night for 8 weeks. The results were extraordinary. Participants showed average blood pressure reductions of 10 points systolic and 7 points diastolic, specifically in nighttime readings, restoration of healthy nocturnal dipping patterns in 68% of participants who had previously been non-dippers, and reported falling asleep an average of 35% faster, with 42 additional minutes of total sleep time per night. The mechanism is fascinating. Kiwis contain exceptionally high levels of serotonin, about 42 micrograms per gram of fruit. When you consume this in the evening, Your brain uses that serotonin to facilitate the transition into sleep, shortening sleep onset latency, the time it takes you to fall asleep, and increasing time spent in deep non-REM sleep, where blood pressure naturally drops to its lowest levels, allowing true cardiovascular rest and repair. Robert, 71 years old, a retired electrician from Columbus, Ohio, had been struggling with what his doctor called white coat hypertension. His office readings were always elevated, 155 over 98, 160 over 100, but his doctor suspected stress. Home monitoring showed readings around 142 over 90, still concerning, but lower. Robert was sleeping terribly, lying awake for an hour or more before falling asleep, waking frequently, and feeling unrested every morning. His doctor wanted to start medication, but Robert asked for 90 days to try lifestyle changes. We introduced 2 medium kiwis consumed exactly 60 minutes before his target bedtime of 10 p.m. Within 8 weeks, his home blood pressure monitoring showed consistent readings of 132 over 82, and his sleep had transformed. He was falling asleep within 15 minutes, sleeping through the night or waking only once briefly, and waking feeling genuinely rested for the first time in years. His doctor was impressed enough to continue delaying medication and monitor for another 3 months. Here is exactly how to implement this. 2 medium kiwis consumed 60 minutes before bed. You can eat them with the skin if you wash them thoroughly. The skin contains additional fiber and antioxidants, or peel them if you prefer. The key is consistency. This works through nightly repetition, allowing your body to establish a rhythm. Pair this with a 15-minute wind-down routine, dimming lights, turning off screens, because the combination of the nutritional support and the behavioral sleep hygiene compounds the effectiveness by up to 50%, according to research from the National Sleep Foundation. Now we move to number 2. And this is where the collagen production reaches its peak potential while simultaneously creating the deepest, most restorative sleep your body has experienced in years. We are talking about bone broth. Specifically, 8 to 12 ounces of warm bone broth consumed 30 to 45 minutes before bed. After age 65, your body's production of glycine, an amino acid essential for collagen synthesis and deep sleep, declines by approximately 50%. Glycine serves dual roles. It is a primary building block of collagen, making up nearly 1/3 of collagen's amino acid structure. But glycine also functions as an inhibitory neurotransmitter in your brain, meaning it calms neural activity, lowers core body temperature slightly, and signals your body that it is time for deep restorative sleep. Bone broth, made from simmering bones for 12 to 24 hours, extracts massive concentrations of glycine along with proline and hydroxyproline, the other amino acids essential for collagen formation. When you consume this in the evening, you are providing your body exactly what it needs during the overnight repair window when growth hormone is released and collagen synthesis peaks. A study from Kyushu University in Japan found that consuming 3 grams of glycine before bed improved sleep quality scores by 26%, reduced time to fall asleep by 12 minutes on average, and increased deep slow-wave sleep by an average of 23%. That deep sleep is where your glymphatic system, your brain's waste clearance system, operates at maximum efficiency, literally flushing out toxic proteins that accumulate during waking hours. But bone broth also contains high concentrations of magnesium and potassium when made properly, both critical electrolytes for blood pressure regulation. Research from the American Heart Association found that adults with magnesium intake in the upper ranges showed systolic blood pressure readings averaging 8 points lower than those with inadequate magnesium intake, with the effect particularly pronounced when magnesium was consumed in the evening hours. Eleanor, 74 years old from Knoxville, Tennessee, came to me after her daughter noticed alarming changes. Eleanor's skin had become so thin and fragile that she was developing tears and bruises constantly. Her joints ached perpetually. She was sleeping 3 to 4 hours per night, waking exhausted, and her blood pressure readings had climbed to 152 over 96 despite being on 2 medications. Her doctor wanted to add a 3rd medication, but Eleanor felt she was already taking too many pills. We introduced 12 ounces of homemade bone broth consumed 40 minutes before bed. We started with chicken bone broth because it is milder in flavor. Within 6 weeks, Eleanor's daughter called my office. She said her mother's skin looked noticeably healthier, the constant bruising had diminished, and Eleanor reported that her joint pain had improved enough that she was doing light stretching exercises again. Her blood pressure readings had dropped to 138/88. Not perfect, but improved enough that her doctor agreed to continue monitoring before adding the third medication. But what moved Eleanor most was the sleep. She was sleeping 6 to 7 hours most nights, waking once instead of 4 or 5 times, and feeling mentally clear during the day for the first time in 3 years. Here is your exact protocol. 8 to 12 ounces of bone broth made from chicken, beef, or fish bones, simmered for at least 12 hours to extract maximum glycine and minerals. Consume it warm, not hot, 30 to 45 minutes before bed. The warmth itself has a mild sedative effect by slightly raising then lowering your core body temperature, which signals sleep onset. If you do not have time to make bone broth, high-quality packaged bone broth is available, but read labels carefully and choose versions with at least 10 grams of protein per serving, which indicates adequate collagen and amino acid content. Pair this with 5 minutes of gentle stretching before bed, because movement helps circulate those amino acids to joints and connective tissues, compounding the repair benefits. Number 2 is extraordinary, but now we arrive at number 1. The single most important bedtime food every person over 60 needs to understand for collagen production, blood pressure control, and deep restorative sleep. This is what the research has been quietly building toward, and what most cardiologists never discuss during routine visits. This is the one. We are talking about dark leafy greens consumed in a very specific form. Specifically, a small bowl of lightly steamed spinach or kale consumed with 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil 45 to 60 minutes before bed. After the age of 70, your body's production of nitric oxide, the molecule that keeps your blood vessels relaxed and your blood pressure controlled, declines by 60% or more compared to younger adults. This decline is the primary driver of age-related hypertension. Your vessels lose their ability to dilate appropriately. Pressure rises. Damage accumulates. Traditional blood pressure medications work by artificially forcing vessel dilation or reducing heart pumping force, but they do not address the underlying problem, which is inadequate nitric oxide production. Dark leafy greens, particularly spinach and kale, contain extraordinarily high concentrations of dietary nitrates. These are not the harmful nitrates found in processed meats. These are natural plant nitrates that your body converts through a specific pathway into nitric oxide. When you consume these greens in the evening, particularly lightly steamed, which concentrates the nitrate content, you are providing your cardiovascular system exactly what it needs during the overnight hours, when blood pressure regulation is most critical. A groundbreaking study from Queen Mary University of London, published in the journal Hypertension, followed adults aged 60 to 78 who consumed 1 cup of nitrate-rich vegetables daily, specifically in the evening. After just 4 weeks, participants showed systolic blood pressure reductions averaging 11 points, diastolic reductions averaging 5 points, measurably improved arterial elasticity, and significantly improved endothelial function, the ability of blood vessel linings to produce nitric oxide on demand. 11 points. That is equivalent to, or better than, many first-line blood pressure medications achieved through food. But here is what makes this number 1. Dark leafy greens are also extraordinarily rich in vitamin K, which plays a direct role in activating proteins that regulate calcium deposition. After 65, your body begins depositing calcium inappropriately, not in your bones where you need it, but in your arterial walls, where it causes stiffening and increased cardiovascular risk, and in your skin where it disrupts collagen structure. Vitamin K activates matrix GLA protein, which prevents this inappropriate calcium deposition and redirects calcium to bones. Research from Tufts University found that adults with the highest vitamin K intake showed 40% less arterial calcification over 5 years compared to those with low intake. And the combination of nitrates and healthy fats is critical. The extra virgin olive oil consumed with the greens serves multiple functions. It enhances absorption of fat-soluble vitamin K by up to 400%. It provides polyphenols that independently support nitric oxide production and reduce inflammation. And it signals satiety, preventing late-night hunger that might disrupt sleep.